Have you ever looked back at your childhood and realized that nobody was really steering the ship? That at some point, without anyone asking if you were ready, you became the one who handled things. You made sure the younger ones were okay. You kept the house running. You managed things that no child should ever have to manage. Or maybe it was quieter than that. Maybe you just learned early that your feelings were your problem to solve. That needing things felt inconvenient. That growing up fast was simply what was required. Nobody asked if you were ready. You just became ready because you had no other choice. You carried that quietly for a long time, without complaining, without even fully realizing how heavy it was. If any of that sounds familiar, this is for you. There is a name for what happened to you. Psychologists call it parentification. It is when a child takes on the role of an adult before they are anywhere near ready, before their brain is built for it, before they have the tools for it, before they have even finished being a child. It happens in homes where parents are absent or struggling, dealing with addiction, mental illness, grief, or money problems. But it also happens in quiet homes, homes that looked fine from the outside, homes where the damage was invisible but just as real. You did not have to grow up in chaos to have grown up too fast. Sometimes the pressure was silent. Sometimes nobody was doing anything obviously wrong. And yet something essential was missing and you felt it every single day. These children did not just grow up fast, they skipped things. Whole stages of childhood that were supposed to happen simply did not. The years meant for playing and making safe mistakes were spent managing and worrying instead. The years meant for figuring out who you are were spent figuring out how to keep everything from falling apart. Nobody told them that was not their job. Those years do not come back. And the things that were supposed to happen in them do not automatically happen later just because time passed. The gap stays. It just gets quieter. It gets buried under capability and routine and the business of adult life. But it is still there, underneath everything, waiting to be seen. Think about what a child actually needs. They need to fall apart sometimes and have an adult put them back together. They need to not know things and have someone patient enough to explain. They need to need things without feeling like a burden. They need to be protected from problems that are too big for small people to carry. They need to be allowed to just be a child without the weight of everything else pressing down on them. When those things are not available, the child does not stop needing them. They just stop showing it. They tuck the need away somewhere deep and get on with things. They learn that showing need leads nowhere good. They learn that being strong is safer than being honest. And they get so good at getting on with it that even they start to believe they are fine. That is one of the most painful parts of this whole thing. Children who raise themselves are often extraordinarily capable. They handle pressure. They solve problems. They hold themselves together in situations that break other people. And because of that, nobody worries about them. Nobody checks on them. Nobody stops to ask if they are okay because they always seem okay. Their strength made them invisible. The very thing that helped them survive became the thing that made them easy to overlook. They were capable, so they were left alone. And being left alone made them more capable. The cycle just kept going, round and round, year after year. And somewhere inside all of that capability was a child who was exhausted and needed someone to notice. They learned that being okay was their job, that falling apart was not an option, that needing help was an inconvenience, not from a lesson, from experience, from watching what happened when they showed their soft parts, from understanding, without anyone saying it out loud, that softness was not safe here. That lesson went deep, and it did not disappear when childhood ended. It came with them into every friendship, every relationship, every room they ever walked into as an adult. It sits inside them right now, shaping decisions they think are just personality, shaping responses they think are just the way they are. It shows up in the adult who cannot ask for help without feeling ashamed, who over-explains every request as if they need to justify having a need, who feels uneasy being dependent on someone else, even briefly, even in small ways, who finds it easier to carry something alone for weeks than to ask for help for 5 minutes, who says I am fine so automatically they do not even stop to check if it is true. This is not stubbornness. This is not a character flaw. This is a child who learned that depending on people was dangerous. That lesson did not stop feeling true just because they grew up. The body remembers. The nervous system remembers. Even when the mind has moved on and understands things differently, the body is still running the old rules, still bracing, still waiting for the cost of needing something from someone. Think about your relationship with rest. Real rest. Not sleep. Not watching something to switch off. Genuine guiltless rest where you do nothing and feel completely okay about it. For most people who raise themselves, that kind of rest feels almost impossible. There is always something pulling at them. A task not finished. A person who might need something. A quiet, persistent feeling that stopping is simply not allowed. That feeling is not just anxiety, that is a nervous system trained for years to stay alert, to stay ready, to never fully put the weight down because putting the weight down once meant things fell apart, and so they keep moving, they keep doing, they keep being useful and available and on top of things, because rest never felt like something they were allowed to have. It felt like a risk they could not afford to take. There is something else that comes from growing up too fast, a complicated relationship with being taken care of. Deep down they crave it. They spent years doing all the holding and they are tired in a way that goes all the way down. But when someone actually tries to take care of them, it feels wrong. Uncomfortable. Like waiting for the catch. Like something they do not fully trust and do not know how to receive. They pull back. They say they are fine. They find a way to turn it around and take care of the other person instead. That is not coldness. That is not ingratitude. It is what happens when care was never reliable. When the people who were supposed to provide it were the same people you were taking care of. When love and burden arrived together for so long that you stopped being able to tell them apart. Children who raise themselves often become adults who are wonderful at loving other people and genuinely struggle to let other people love them back. Not because they do not want it, because they never fully learned that they were allowed to have it without earning it first. They give endlessly and receive awkwardly. They show up for everyone and struggle to let anyone fully show up for them. The gap between what they offer and what they allow in is enormous. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes with this. Not the loneliness of having nobody. These people often have full lives and people who care about them. It is the loneliness of always being the strong one, of never being the one someone worries about, of sitting in a room full of people who love you and still feeling completely alone in the weight you are carrying because nobody can see it and you stopped showing it a long time ago. Many of these people do not even recognize their childhood as hard. They compare it to worse things. They say other people had it much harder. They tell themselves it was not that bad, that they turned out fine, and in some ways they did. But fine and whole are not the same thing. You can function and still be carrying things that were never yours to carry. Turning out fine does not mean nothing happened. It means you were strong enough to keep going despite what happened. Those are very different things. Here's the truth. You deserved better, not because anyone was a monster, but because every child deserves to be a child. Fully. Without condition. You deserve to fall apart and have someone catch you. You deserve to have needs that were treated as normal. You deserve to be confused and scared and small and have an adult handle it. You deserve to be the child in the room, not the adult, just the child. That did not happen the way it should have. And it is okay to finally let yourself see that clearly. The child who did so much with so little. They were never the problem. They were just too alone. And they deserved so much more than that. So do you.